Oogie Boogie is clearly and undeniably a villain in The Nightmare Before Christmas. Or is he? I'm going to make my best case for Oogie Boogie not being a villain. And at the end, you'll probably agree at the very least that he is a misunderstood Disney villain. Well, hello there. My name's Jeremy and welcome back to Freeform Disney, where I talk about all aspects of Disney, from the animated movies to the theme parks to Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar, and the TV shows, and everything else in between. And that is why it's Freeform. And keep coming back every day for new daily content. If you're not subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Today, it's a Halloween special edition of Misunderstood Disney Villains, and we're going to look at the maliciously misunderstood Oogie Boogie. Disney has many misunderstood villains. Oogie Boogie, on the other hand, is just plain bad, right? Now, hey, I'll grant you that if you mean it as, say, in a very wickedly bad way for the greater good of bad. After all, this is Halloweentown, right? But I'm not going to go for just plain bad. So bear with me and we'll see if I can convince you. Now, who is Oogie Boogie? You've all seen Nightmare Before Christmas, I'm assuming, if you're watching this. Now, I'm also going to say, though, I am only counting the movie and I am not counting video games or books or anything else, which I don't think counts as canon. So I'm not touching the weird Bug Day stuff or whatever the heck that's about. Now, Oogie Boogie is someone who goes a little further, and sometimes you might even think he's beyond the pale for just how into Halloween he is. And maybe how mean he might be, shall we say. Or how much he might be into not just scaring, but maybe hurting others. These are some of the questions, and certainly he's scary. And also scared by things too, for that matter. Now, Oogie Boogie, he calls himself the gambling man, he's a boogeyman, and he don't play fair. We know he was pushed to the outskirts of Halloweentown by Jack for some reason. We don't know why. Although we should note who this person is. Jack is the person who declared war on another town. And let's be frank, kidnapping the leader of Christmastown probably counts as a declaration of war. And heck, humans became wary of Halloweentown over the incident of what happened. I would think they're not quite as happy with them as they were before. So I've just got to say, we don't have to fully trust Jack's judgment on exiling somebody out of the town, right? Let's look at some of the arguments I've heard against Oogie Boogie. First off, how about that Oogie Boogie goes too far? So murder or killing, what about that? Is that too far for Halloweentown? Well, I'm going to have to say no, because Halloweentown, first off, has vampires and werewolves, and they kind of live by killing others as a general. It's just part of what they do. Also, how about when Jack shows them the present when he's explaining Christmas, and they all think it would be really cool if it held a pox in it, which is most certainly, in many cases, a deadly disease. Or how about hoping there's a foot in the stocking? Now, last I checked, having a foot in a stocking would require it being, severed from the person whose foot it was. Now, maybe they hoped there was just some random accident. But I think the other's a little more likely here. Or how about what they want the small toys to do? They're like, hopefully they'll bite or snap or explode in the sack. Now, you might think, well, that's just to go ahead and scare people. They just mean it in a kind way. Except the line right after that is, well, perhaps they just spring out and scare girls and boys. In other words, the biting, snapping, exploding the sack is contrasted with that. It means they do not count that as just scaring girls and boys. No, the biting and snapping and exploding the sack, that would legitimately be hurting them, and they're hoping for that. So let's note this is who Halloweentown is, so certainly we can see killing, murder, doesn't seem to be too much. And even Jack, at the end of explaining Christmastown, he says about Santa Claus, about him setting out to slay with his rain gear on. And slaying as in killing. And heck, we've got the phrase of curiosity killed the cat. And we mean that literally when we use it. Or one last little piece, and this one might be a little further because we can't fully trust Lock, Shock, and Barrel necessarily in how they interpret things. But when they took Jack's order to kidnap Santa, They took it as being okay to go ahead and kill Santa Claus. They thought that Jack would only be mad at them if they didn't bring back all the pieces of Santa. So as long as we kill him, yeah, that's fine. We can use the scorpions or whatever else. They didn't end up doing it, but they certainly thought they could. And again, their judgment might be off. At the same time, we've got to grant that Jack went ahead and specifically gave them the order. So, yeah. It does not seem killing or murder is too far for Halloweentown. So, that is certainly not a reason to call Oogie Boogie a villain. So perhaps it's the reason for Oogie Boogie doing what he's doing. Maybe it's that he's too mean. Maybe that makes him a villain, right? Because after all, in the song at the beginning of This Is Halloween, life's no fun without a good scare. That's our job. We're not mean in this our town of Halloween. Whereas Lock, Shock, and Barrel very clearly say that Mr. Oogie Boogie Man is the meanest man in town. Although, let me be frank here too off the bat. I don't think that makes him the only mean man. He's the meanest. There's lots of mean people. And frankly, where does that line really get drawn when we are hoping to go ahead and hurt people? And we've clearly established that a lot of the other people in town are hoping to hurt people anyway. But is that not mean that they're hoping to hurt other people, but Oogie Boogie it is? It gets a little messy right there trying to draw a thin line. Heck, the presents that Jack hands out. We've got a shrunken head. Now that had to come from somewhere, by the way. You don't just shrink a head as the person actually got killed for that. Yeah. And the toys that want to go ahead and bite the kids, the snake that eats presents, and we know that snake probably was more than willing to eat people. A wreath that attacks people too. Is this not mean? I'm just saying here. Heck, even Jack at the end, when he confronts Oogie Boogie, doesn't seem to actually find him to be too mean per se. He doesn't care about the murder or anything as we established earlier. It's how dare you treat my friends so shamefully. That's the only problem. It's just how you treated my friends right there. That's it? That doesn't really sound like you're a giant villain. It just sounds like I don't like you. Which fits with Jack earlier going, that no account Oogie Boogie. Sounds like there's a big personal conflict, but that doesn't establish him as a villain. So at the end, I don't think that he's necessarily hugely more mean than other people in Halloweentown. And hey, if he is, maybe, just maybe if he's the meanest, as we've established, that means he's actually the true spirit of Halloween. And this should be the ultimate reason that he is not a villain. Oogie Boogie, the shadow on the moon at night who fills your dreams to the brim with fright. The boogeyman. Now he is the true scary one. He's filled with bugs. He seems scarier than Jack, to be sure. Let's talk about some other things. I don't see Oogie Boogie ever getting tired of Halloween. Or say, feeling the need to invade other holidays like Jack went ahead and did. Now sure, maybe the others in town might be scared to have Oogie Boogie as their leader. But maybe that makes a lot of sense for that to be what Halloweentown would be like. Heck, Colonel Nathan Jessup had a line for people like that. You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about at parties, you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. And maybe that's Oogie Boogie for you too right there. You need him on that wall because he is the true sense of Halloween. Whereas Jack's bored of Halloween. He doesn't like scaring people enough. He just wants to go try some other things. Maybe a little Christmas or something. Maybe Oogie Boogie is exactly the spirit of Halloween, and therefore, Jack is actually the villain in The Nightmare Before Christmas. The person that declared war on a different holiday, potentially bringing devastation to the actual townsfolk of Halloweentown. Well, perhaps I've convinced you to take a different look at Oogie Boogie as a misunderstood Disney villain. At the very least, I hope to have painted a more well-rounded picture of Oogie Boogie and his actions. Or perhaps it's just as Harvey Dent said in The Dark Knight, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. And yet think it's too late for Oogie Boogie. His time of being more scary of Halloween is way back in the past, and now we're up to nicer Halloween. So now he has to be the villain. But at the same time, I ask you, is Batman truly a villain? And on that note, let me say that I hope you enjoyed the video, and it may still be a few days away. But let me say happy Halloween, everyone. Well, what about you? Does Halloween need a new king who won't declare war on other holidays? Are there any other Disney villains you would like to see me attempt to show to be misunderstood Disney villains? Let me know down below in the comments. And thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like, a share, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you back here tomorrow for another new episode of Freeform Disney. Have a magical day, and may the Force be with you always.